Well, tough night for the Raptors, especially on the glass, as the Oklahoma City Thunder end their 3-game losing streak, but extend Toronto's to 4. 113-103 is your final. Raps record now 18-30 as we hit the 2/3 mark of the season. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Raptors Night Cap. Randy Urban alongside Sherman Hamilton, Paul Jones, and Jack Armstrong. Guys, tough one all around for this one, especially you go up by 14 the first quarter. Everything looks good. Sherm, I'll start with you. They get killed on the glass. They get killed in the second chance points. Was it more than just a height disadvantage in this one?
Thanks for starting with me, Herbs, on a night like this. When I look at the Raptors in this game, to your point, in the first quarter, I thought the Raptors got off to a very good start. They looked like they had control of what they were going to do for the rest of the game. But then we saw the things that creep into the Raptors losing streak, the inability to close quarters properly, the inability to get on the defensive glass and secure rebounds and not give up second chance points. And then you could literally see, I feel, the confidence of OKC growing as the game continued to go on. And what you don't do to a young team that's playing without two key pieces is you don't give them a reason to think that they have a chance to win. And once they did that, then all these guys got longer. Brown got longer in the paint. Roby got longer. They started to get more confidence on the glass. Shots started going in. I just think that overall, the Raptors gave a lot to OKC to give them positive vibes. But on the flip side, the Raptors really didn't have any continuous offensive or defensive flow. It's a great night for Gary Trent Jr., but there was some disjointedness out there in key possessions that they weren't able to capitalize on.
Jonesy, you said Raps were coming in 8-point favorites. I don't think anybody expected this, right, tonight?
No. And Sherman and I talked about it on the radio, and Jack and I have talked about it at different times too. You look at this game on paper and you say, well, that's a game Toronto should win, but we don't play on paper. And the team isn't playing well right now. And in the other locker room, Oklahoma City's looking at Toronto the same way. Hey, I know these guys were champs, but they've lost 3 in a row. They've lost, 12 of their last 13. This is one that we can get. It's our home court. And then, as Sherm said, the game starts and Toronto goes up 14. And rather than kind of suck the life out of them and keep them at arm's length the whole time, Oklahoma City chips away. And then Toronto has a 22-point third quarter. They're down going into the fourth quarter, and they just couldn't make plays. We are used to seeing this team over the last 7 years make winning plays, take a charge, get a rebound, make a big bucket, get a block, force a turnover, a winning play. They haven't been able to make those. And Sherman and I were talking about it. One leads to the other. Lack of confidence, frustration, more frustration, throw your arms up, maybe more lack of confidence. That the cycle continues and it has to be broken at some point with a win, and you just have to keep working. But, this was one of those where it got away from them down the stretch.
Jack, too many dunks inside, is this something like, how do you rebound from this going forward,
Well, two things. Number one, defensively, I'll take my hat off to the Raptors on this occasion. They forced 20 turnovers tonight, okay? And they forced 19 misses that, unfortunately, Oklahoma City recovered for offensive rebound. So my point is, there were enough possessions where you did pretty well, where you forced a turnover, you forced the miss, and on those 19 that Oklahoma City got, you didn't retrieve them. So it's like offense. You execute, you get a great shot, but you don't convert. What's defensive conversion? Getting a defensive rebound, right? And so some of that's size related, some of it's talent related, length related, whatever the case you want to point to. But, obviously Oklahoma City dictated terms in the paint. And when you're scrambling around and trying to get to shooters and you're having issues in terms of who you're playing, different lineup combinations, there's going to be slippage defensively. And so you give up a lot of those easy scores in the paint. And too, I mean, your defense is totally out of sorts when you give up offensive rebounds. And now you're susceptible not only to threes, but to easy paint points. So it's a big problem. It's a cumulative effect. And guys, I think it has had an effect on their offense as well. You're not supposed to get your offensive personality from your offense. You're supposed to get it from your defense. And unfortunately, I think their offensive setbacks are affecting their attention to detail on the defensive end.
And Sherm, coming into this one, we found out that, Kyle was going to be out 7 to 10 days, which certainly doesn't help. As Jonesy mentioned, we're used to seeing guys make plays at certain times. We're not seeing that now. What will it take to see those plays? What do you have anything that could help here going forward with a scheme, or is it a rotation, or what are you thinking?
Well, I personally, I don't want to hear about the buyout market. Until that happens, I don't want to hear about it. I think right now the Raptors are going to have to look inside that locker room and say, how do we get better? How do we get better on the glass? Is it one of those challenges? Hey, you get 2 more rebounds, you get another 2 rebounds. However you make that challenge work and come to fruition, they've got to be better internally with what they have right now, because there's nothing that's going to change. And I think challenging them on certain levels might help. The other side of it too is, from a defensive perspective, they're giving up too many opportunities off the bounce. Teams are breaking them down off the dribble, and we talk about their rebounding issues, but it's usually instigated by the fact that they're not able to keep people in front of them. And when you do that and you allow those drives to the basket and backline defenders have to rotate up, guess what? Your smaller guys have to be under there scrapping it out on the glass with bigger bodies. So that's an issue that they have to really work on and really figure out. The reality is nobody's going to help them right now. They're going to have to help themselves. And you can drop schemes and you can try all kinds of different machinations of defense, but ultimately guys are going to have to get down. You're going to have to guard. You're going to have to rebound better. And you're going to have to challenge yourselves to be better in all those areas.
One guy that was pretty good, Jonesy, was Gary Trent Jr. I thought he just looks comfortable, for a guy that hasn't played on this team, ever, and he's only been there a week. It feels like he fits in pretty well here.
That was a good word, Randy. He did look comfortable tonight. I mean, I think he hit 8 of his first 10 shots. He did a nice job. He seems to have developed a nice flow around conceptually with Toronto. Nick Nurse likes the drive, kick, swing. He likes to play on the catch, 0.5 seconds. When you catch it, drive it, shoot it, pass it. Gary Trent seems to be fitting into that. Now, again, I go back to what he's come from. He was playing with 2 great players in Lillard and McCollum, and he had a veteran like Carmelo Anthony. So this is not new for him. It's a bit of a readjustment. So, the whole conceptual part of the offense is good. I thought he did a great job. He looked comfortable knocking down shots, had good shot prep, took the ball to the goal. I think he was one guy that maybe they could have gone to more, especially down the stretch. They had a 14-point fourth quarter, and they really, really stalled. And, it just magnifies the other things that Jack and Sherman have talked about in terms of not getting stops and not finishing possessions with rebounds. Now you hustle to the other end and you're feeling a little bit panicked. You maybe take a bad shot. You're trying to get it back too quickly. But that being said, I thought Gary Trent Jr. did a really, really nice job tonight.
Jack, what did you think about the bench contributions tonight? Obviously, it's been a bit of a up and down season from that perspective.
It's been a challenge, particularly when you lose Rodney Hood tonight, and you're already without Bembry and Watson and Lowry. It just makes it that much harder. And obviously Flynn is out there playing his tail off, but he's a young player just learning. And they got a little bit better minutes from Stanley Johnson tonight, and Boucher came to life a little bit. But the bottom line is you're putting people in positions where they have to do a little too much. These are guys that play off of having teammates that attract the double team, and now they get easier scoring chances. There's more space to do things. And, left to their own devices, it's a little bit harder to do things. But, depth is a challenge. It's a problem. And I don't know how you fix it, how you kind of prevent droughts. And I think Nick Nurse and his staff, I'm sure they scheme it out a lot in terms of substitution patterns and having a certain player or two to prop up the entire unit and making sure you have, two guys on the floor at all times that can score a little bit. But you get caught sometimes in bad positions where you don't have enough scoring or you don't have. And unfortunately, I'm an expert at this because I've had these problems when I've coached. But it's a tough spot. And you could just see, honestly, I'm a big believer in body language. And Nick Nurse looks like a different guy right now. I mean, it looks like it's affecting him a little bit. And I think it's a really, challenging thing as a coach to keep yourself up and to not let your team feel that. And so I'm sure for Nick and everybody to get a chance to maybe settle in Tampa a little bit more. They've played the most road games in the NBA. And again, what's road, what's home this year in a wacky season? But maybe just sleeping in your own bed, having a little bit more routine, nice weather, all that. Maybe things settle down a little bit and it changes just changes things a little bit.
Sure. I'm under 30 seconds to go. Just quickly, how would you characterize this next stretch at home in Tampa for the Raptors? You want to say must win. I know.
No, I don't want to say must win. I just think that they've got to figure things out very quickly. They've got to capitalize on this next stretch. So how do you do that? Somehow, some way you shake off what's happened and you figure out ways to get it going early in these games. And you've got to believe, you've got to stay together. You can't start to fracture and start to point the finger. This team has shown a lot of character over the years, and I expect that character to come through. But we know losing can create pressure for anybody. So I just don't want to see them start to fall apart. I want to see them continue to grind this out and see if they can figure out a way to get some W's.
Randy, they built a culture. It's being tested right now. That's all I can say.
Yeah. All right, guys. I appreciate you doing this. Next up for the Raptors, Friday night, 7 p.m. against the Warriors from Tampa. We'll see you then.
Thanks for watching. You can click to watch our last episode or to subscribe to the Toronto Raptors YouTube channel so you don't miss an episode.